our minds. Today is the 26th day of the month of July. In the next few days, we're going to be in the month of August. Hopefully, the rains will stop a little bit. That's why it's called August break. Then we are going to have some time to be able to wash clothes again, like we used to. Today we are back in our study of the book of Proverbs. And of course, if you are just joining us, the grand theme is wisdom for life, anchored in God's presence. Wisdom for life, anchored in God's presence. And today's sub-theme is wisdom in leadership. Wisdom in leadership. So we're going to be focusing on leadership this morning as we do a deep dive into Proverbs chapter 25. Proverbs chapter 25. So if you have your Bible, it should be a good time to open it, or you just listen and let's learn together. So this morning I was thinking, what do I do? Do I do line by line, or should I just jump into picking both up? It was quite a bit of a struggle because there's so much in that one chapter 25. So I decided, okay, well, let me just see how it goes, because I'm really desirous of explaining different concept that is there. So I would say that we've arrived at I'll call it a spectacular operational station. Okay, I've been studying company law and Nigerian labor law for the past few days in preparation for for a test that I have on human resource. And so we call this one operational station. When you get to this point, we'll not stop, because this is where leadership now comes in. We'll be looking at character, various kind of things, immorality, the control of the tongue. But today, again, this is going to be like another salad we're going to be, looking at. So this chapter 25 brings us into a specialized court of executive leadership. We enter that boardroom, and we're going to look at how high stakes, how they govern our lives, how they govern everyone. So this, if you, depending on the Bible verse, Bible translation you are using, you'll probably see a heading that says more Proverbs from Solomon. Now, verse 1 didn't go into the proverb. Verse 1 actually talked about who got these things together. They are called redactors. In theology, we call them redactors, or call them editors. Okay. In verse 1, it says these are these are more Proverbs of Solomon, compiled by the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah. Okay, so these were the redactors, the editors that bring them together. All right. In verse 2, we now go into the Proverbs properly. Of course, Proverbs are called wise saying. Okay, they are wise saying. They are, like I've said before, they are not naturally laws that bind every situation. They're not like laws like gravity. Gravity is a law. You can't break it. If you throw something up, it comes down. That's just the law of gravity. But these proverbs are wise saying. They are general sayings. They are what I call they are very smart saying that deals with the principles in our lives. So in verse 2, it says, it is the glory of king. Some people say king, but God, king appears afterwards. So it's the glory of God to conceal a matter. Okay, because a lot of things that God can, will not tell us. So there's so many things that we don't know. So it's the glory of God to conceal a matter. Now, to search out a matter is the glory of kings. All right, it's the glory of kings. So that's to look at. So kings will look at, see those as wise. Of course, when we talk about kings, we're talking about Solomon. Okay, Solomon, could name plants. He knew biology. He knew agronomy, farming. He knew so many things. Now, I've been discussing a book with several people actually in a little professional group that I belong, that I even shared with my wife, and she was, just founded. As I read the Bible, my focus on Jesus usually is in Matthew chapter 5, 6, 7. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. If our people say, if that is all you know about Jesus, you are going to be fine. Okay, if that's all you know about Jesus. But when we look at it, you now look at what men do. And there's a book, you probably heard me say before, that is not a very good, very, very good, Google book. Because many of the concepts there are just evil. Okay, it's just evil. Now, a lot of people read it as a leadership book, and I'm sure a lot of politicians read it. It's called the 48 Laws of Power. Now, I'm reminded of law number 3 of the 48 Laws of Power, because it's just about concealing also, all right? And law number 3 of that book says, conceal your intentions. Conceal your intentions. Now, there's a bit of wisdom, in it. I mean, like bit of wisdom in anything. But when you now go into it, what was it really saying? It said, keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your action. The book further says that if they have no clue what you are up to, they cannot prepare a defense. It said, guide them far enough down the wrong path, the wrong path. Envelope them in enough smoke. And by the time they realize your intention, it will be too late. So that is evil. Really, you're going to hear so many concepts that say you should set people have truth. Tell them, have truth. You are going to hear, a concept like talk about change, but don't change, yourself. It's all about what you do to get ahead. But that is not what God does. All right. So I just try to bring that up, to look at concealing. That's not what God, God does. But men, they conceal to deceive. Now, let us drop that and go straight away to verse 3. He said, as the heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable. Again, in those days, the kings were saying, in some culture, like the Egyptian culture, the kings were seen as divine. They were God sent. Even here in Africa, in Yoruba land, especially, the king was seen as God sent. And that's why they say there is no one like you. When the king, they were like, they were worshipped, really. That's why they call them Kabiyesi, Kabiyesi, nobody like you. So of course that's what we use for God. Kabiyesi, Baba, Kabiyesi, or it could be nobody can question you. So it depends on how you're whatever. Kabiyesi, nobody can question you. Nobody's like you. You are higher than everybody. Nobody can stand you. That's how it is. So in the ancient world also, kings were seen as very special. They were divine in a way. Now, talk about a king like Solomon, you will know what I'm talking about. So as heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable. In that talks about, he said, remove the dross. Dross is impurity. All right, just anything that could contaminate. He said, remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce vessel. In other words, if you take away some certain impurities in your life, then you can work better. That's what it means. So it makes you to actually think. He said, then in the same way, you will now say something. This is about silver, right? If you remove the dross from silver, silversmith can produce a vessel. Then in the next line, he said, remove wicked officials from the king's presence, and his throne will be established through righteousness. So you see, the same thing he's saying is now replacing it in terms of human being. First of all, it talks about articles like silver, and of course, like vessel. Now he now talks about wickedness. So people who are wicked are dross. Okay, they are contamination. All right. So Bible says if we remove them from the king's presence, his throne will be established, because these people can influence the king. So again, leadership, right? Who are the people that influences you? Who are the people? Are they good people or are they bad people? Our leadership in our society, in our corporate governance, in our workplace, in our church. Who do leaders, listen to? So he said, do not exalt yourself in a king's presence, and do not claim a place among the great men. All right, Jesus Christ, told us about that. That if you go to a place, choose the lesser, seats, because it will be embarrassing if they say, get up there, somebody more important than you is going to come. So this is wisdom in leadership. In other words, do not put yourself too high, than you ought to. In verse 7, he said, it is better for him to say, come up here, than for him to humiliate you before the nobles. So in leadership, we also know how to carry ourselves. Very, very important. We need to learn how to carry ourselves. He said, what you have seen with your eyes, do not bring hastily to court. For what you do in the end, for what will you do in the end if your neighbor puts you to shame? In other words, don't be too, and I find that very, very, especially in this social media world, somebody just says something, he posts it. Because, there's a drug, there's a chemical that's released in your brain. You get a high. You see people will say, oh, I posted this thing. Nobody has liked it. If I saw somebody, one of my friends in a neighbor where I used to live, a retiree, he will post this on Facebook, even before he retired in Abuja, was in Abuja. You come and say, Pastor, you are not commenting on whatever. I say, I don't have to. I'm not on Facebook, most of the times. Because they get a high from people liking, from people commenting. So you see this thing they posted on your old students association or you whatever, you quickly circulate it, thinking. And I will tell people, I say, well, that thing is actually AI. It's not true. And I told you, I've been doing this for years, ever since there is WhatsApp. I've not found one person that have come back to say, oh, I'm sorry, let me go back and check. No, they were like, but is it not good to be careful? I said, but you are just spreading, rumor, you are spreading whatever, but that thing is AI generated. It is not true. All stories that are not true, or pictures that were taken in another place, they are slamming on things. So do not be, the Bible said, it is, as what you have seen with your eyes, do not bring hastily to court. For what will you do in the end if your neighbor puts you to shame? By the time you say, well, sorry, that thing you saw is actually what you saw. Don't be too quick, with some of those things. Then verse 9 said, if you take your neighbor to court, do not betray another's confidence. Okay, that is deep, right? Do not betray another's confidence. Now, so how could that mean? There are some people that will tell you things, and revealing their name might put them in jeopardy. All right, so people say, hey, this is what I saw, but please don't bring my name up. Journalists would do that. It's like, well, this is from a reliable source. Journalists are not bound to tell you who gave them, because they will become unreliable. Nobody will trust them anymore. So in the same way, he said, or the one who hears it may shame you, and the charge against you will stand. Say, like apples of gold in a setting of silver. It looks very nice, right? Apples of gold in a setting of silver is a ruling rightly given. That challenges us. When things happen, do we make correct judgment? You must have heard me say it. There was a question that came up at our midweek service one day. We talk about stuff, and I rightly said, I believe what I said. He said sometimes we have almost like an unspoken constitution, or your unspoken way we think. We are quick to want to defend the institution. When somebody is hurt, there is a victim. The first thing we do is to isolate the institution. Now, in a way, it might seem a little bit of wise, but okay, well, so are you insulating it so that you can bring judgment out? A lot of times, some leaders are insulated. Oh, we don't want to bring leadership to dispute. But leadership is wrong. How many times would people need to apologize when they are running to apologize? It is not just the small guys that they should be beaten down to apologize. When leadership is wrong, they need to come out. Like Paul told the Roman of officials who took him in Philippi. They beat him in Philippi. They put him in jail in Philippi. Not minding that God came and rescued him. The Philippian jailer became a disciple and blah blah blah. In the morning, when they heard there was a Roman citizen, that means that they were wrong. You cannot beat a human citizen without trial. And Bible said they wanted to dismiss him quietly. And Paul said, no, I'm not going to go quietly. Paul demanded for two things. Paul said, I want a public apology and an escort. A public apology and an escort. So sometimes, we need to be able to say things like that. Everybody, when we say nobody is perfect, we say it as a defense. But do you really mean nobody is perfect? Nobody perfect means that, hey, I can make mistake. And when I make mistake, I will apologize. I will say I'm sorry. I will ask for forgiveness, no matter the high horse. So this chapter 25 is about leadership. And leadership is what makes the people, when leadership is humble, when leadership is quick to accept their fault, when leadership leads with integrity, then people will just follow. That's what happens. Whether at home, whether in the office, whether in church, whether in the country, the same thing. Okay, it's not when in our political realm when they catch leaders, a very bad thing they will say is AI. Very soon, police people will start saying it's AI. I mean, you guys know the news of last week about this policeman that was recorded, all 4 of them in those states or so. If it's politician, they will say it's AI. Because Bible said in book of Jeremiah, they can't even blush anymore. So ruling rightly given, it should be in place. All right. He said, like an earring. I want you to visualize it. Like an earring of gold. Sisters, you know how that feels. An earring of gold or an ornament of fine gold is the rebuke of a wise judge to a listening ear. And that's how it needs to happen. Judges, they need to judge with justice. Okay. If somebody said in Nigeria, when someone tell you go to court, he said, be sure that his brother or his uncle or whatever is the judge, because they know that you're not going to get justice at all. But the same thing should not be said about us where we walk. It shouldn't be said about us in our homes, and definitely shouldn't be said about us in our church. If something goes wrong and we take it to leadership, we should those guys, they will say what is right. But when people are afraid to take things to leadership because they know the first is to protect the institution, people will not do what is right. In fact, they're going to take laws into their hands. So he said, like a snow cold drink. So you can imagine in those days, today we'll call it ice cold drink from refrigerator. In Solomon's time, it was snow. He said, like a snow cold drink at harvest time. Harvest time is the dry season. That's when they harvest. Harvest time, the same way, is a trustworthy messenger to the one who sends him. He refreshes the spirit of the master. So that's how we need to be as leaders, as disciples here. We should be trustworthy. Okay, trustworthy. That means worthy of trust. We cannot be like the world where we call criminals honorable, Your Excellency. Like one politician said, you're not excellent. How can you bear the word excellency when you are not excellent? In the church we sing the most excellency is Jesus. But people today carry I'm your honorable, your excellency. We cannot do that in our homes. We cannot do that at work. We definitely should not be able to should not do that in the church. So leadership is very, very important. He said, like clouds. Now, this is the opposite now. Like clouds and wind without rain. So you can imagine the cloud just come and buru, 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 buru. It's like a lot of activity, but no motion. Say, like clouds and wind without rain is the one who boasts of gifts never given. Okay, boast of gifts. Listen, it happens. I remember before I became a disciple, I used to be many churches, of course. But the last church I was part of, so we had a youth organization, we had a cultural troop, cultural troop. We raised money. In fact, after that launching, people say, youth have money. Unknown to them, our chief launcher, a big guy, not from our parish. Another parish that we invited, big guy, an engineer, everything. He came there. This was like 40 years ago. He donated like 6,000 naira. And we were like, wow, that's a lot of money. Or maybe more than that. Maybe 60,000. 60,000. That's a lot of money. But unknown to the church, we've had an agreement with him. The guy said, well, he's going to come. He's going to donate 60,000, but we're going to give him back. What I actually gave was like 6,000. It's supposed to be a Christian. Okay, it's supposed to be a Christian. So that is what I remember when the minister of the church, now father, were like, why do we do that? And they always say, that's what people do. We didn't even care. We're like the guy was a young, minister. He didn't know, he was not very experienced. He said, I thought, is that what you guys said? That's what we do. There was no blushing. There was no like shame. He said, that's normal. Towards why it's normal. We lie, we cheat. So like cloud and wind without rain is the one who boasts of gifts never given. You didn't give it. Are you like Ananias and Sapphira in your leadership? Do you talk about things that you never did, but you think people think you are doing it? Do you boast? Do you whatever? And you are empty. Leadership, very, very important. It said through patience, a ruler can persuade. Now, this leadership is not the power of positive persuasion, not negative one, not one that wants to deceive. He said through patience, a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. A gentle tongue. Now, what should break something? Is it supposed to be loud, strong, whatever? No, a gentle tongue. In other words, we should be able to speak with grace, okay, through patience, and a ruler can be persuaded. So as leaders, we need to be able to grow in our communication. Okay, a lot of times it's not what is said that hurts a lot of people or that really make the impact. It is how it was said. Very, very important. Through patience, a ruler can be persuaded. Anybody can be persuaded. You can persuade your children. You can persuade your spouse. You can persuade your co-workers. You can persuade people in the church. And a gentle tongue can break a bone. You can convict people more than they shout. And I know we are in a community where everything has to be by power. And I still find it very interesting. Sometimes it's sad, really. In our midweek service, in my ministry, there was a question I was asked by someone, and it has to do with trauma. We're talking about sin. We're talking about sin. That was what, and it was great. It was more like a guided gospel on the sins study. That was what we did at our midweek service. And I think somebody asked a question, how to do. What if it's not sin? What if it's something out of trauma? For example, you might say, so somebody is withdrawn, somebody is cold, what if it's a trauma, that person? What if that person? And I was really shocked as from some of the, if I didn't want to talk, I had to put up my hand and say, let me say something. Oh, if person is a disciple, if person is discipled, if person showed in the Bible. See, sometimes you don't understand. Okay, is it not better to say, as a doctor, we are all doctors in a way, to say, okay, I'm just a GP, I'm a general practitioner. So there's nothing wrong. It's wrong to say, you know what, I don't know how to help this one. Can I refer you to a specialist? You see, a lot of people today, they stay in hospital, they die because the doctors are too proud to refer them. They want collecting their money until they now die. Sometimes we can be like that. The truth is, and I say it, confidently, it's not everything there is sin that is sin. Now, it can lead to sin, but not sin. Okay, people are going through a lot. People have gone through a lot, and I think it's just wise for us, as a people, to be able to look at trauma. There are relational trauma. There is family trauma. There is parental trauma. There is marital trauma. There is leadership trauma. There is organizational trauma. There is group trauma. There is all kind of things that happens. Like I tell people, if I walk into a group, a meeting with a bleeding head, people are going to rush to me and say, what's wrong with you? Or a broken arm. But when I go there with trauma, nobody will know. All of us carry some form of trauma or the other. We are only just better dressed while we are carrying those trauma. So we should be people who grow in ability to ask more questions and give less instructions. Okay, ask questions to know. Ask questions to know. And that's why we need more trained counselors in our church, not disciples, all right? But trained counselors, people who can listen because they want to understand. Not people before they listen, they're already giving you Bible passages. They're going to quote. I'm a teacher, so I should be the one doing it. But that is not the right thing, to do. Through patience, a ruler can be persuaded. Okay, people can be persuaded. People who want to, I mean, I was just sharing with disciples, yesterday, about 2 Decembers ago, last December, there was a disciple in my ministry who's not doing well, who's been, I mean, if you've taken back 20 years ago, would have been disfellowship or kind of fall away or abandoned. And I was just helping this person. And in December, I got a call. I was like, hey, what has happened? No, does this person want to rebuke me? And the brother just said, hey, bro, I just called to say thank you. I said, well, thank you for what? He said, the way you've handled me, the way you've not been judgmental. And even yesterday, I saw this person yesterday in a marriage seminar that I attended. Where, sometimes people think, people have answers to the problem they have. They only need time. But a lot of times we want people to shape in or shape out in our own time. In our own time. We don't allow, I told you about somebody who became a disciple after 6 years. Stop with this guy off and on for 6 years. In our own time, we'll have cut him off. If he doesn't meet your 2 weeks or 1 month, so you can go and share great news. Sometimes we need to really just calm down to think. God is not like us. God gives time. So if you are now, it now goes to even your personal, the way you act and the things you take. He says, if you find honey, that is something good, right? Eat just enough. Too much of it and you will vomit, which is true. You find honey, you can't just be gloating yourself. So have some sense as a leader. Have some sense that don't be covetous. Okay, don't be covetous. People just take because it's sweet. They grab. It is not good for us. Nobody, it's not good for anybody. He said, seldom set foot in your neighbor's house. The Bible said, too much of you and they will hate you. In other words, let's also give people their space. Okay, I know we look at a culture where we are all communal, which is very good. But some people need space. Your children need space. Your spouse needs space. We are married, but they need their own space. They need to do what they like doing. You shouldn't be tied together. People need time to ventilate. Even the person you are trying to help, always seek permission. There are few people that I'm currently working with now. Some of them are very bad situation, and I will text them and say, are you able to talk? Where can I call you? Doing that alone, we're like, oh, okay, don't call me. I'm not free now. One of them told me last week, I said, Uncle Man, if not for you, I wouldn't have picked anybody's call. I'm not going to pick anybody's call. So I say, whenever you are ready, I'm ready to talk. I'm just there to help. And I'm saying, hey, I'm just here to help. Whatever you tell me is all between us, whatever. How can I be, be of help to you? So don't make yourself a nuisance in the bit of trying to help someone. Ask for permission to enter people's space. It just makes sense. Okay, he said, like a club or a sword or a sharp arrow. Think about these are weapons that can hurt anybody. Is one who gives false testimony against a neighbor. So let's also watch the things we'll say. Very, very important. Either in your marriage, either in your place of work, either in your neighborhood, either in the church. Let's watch. Falsehood is bad. Okay, I never used to believe that disciples can lie. I was so like, somebody said that, oh, that was like lying. I was like 30 years ago. One brother, I said, I know, bro, our disciples don't lie now. This was many years ago. I was still a single man. And he says, what do you know? Disciples lie, yo. I said, what's wrong with this guy? Now, I was too immature to actually see. I saw everybody. Now, it's good to see everybody as holy and whatever. But the truth is that people can say things that are wrong. For falsehood. There's actually it shouldn't be, but they are falsehood. People tell half-truths. People outrightly lie in our church. Outright lie. Even when they are caught, they will lie. And one of the rather sad but very interesting way that I've seen people lie, when they say, oh, I can't remember, it's their lying. What you do, hey, they don't want to outrightly lie, but I get so dumbfounded when I hear people like, oh, I can't remember, that's not whatever. Hey, just admit, all right? One person had to say, come on, man, can you just admit? You have been embarrassing me here. Like a broken tooth, think about it. If I've had some dental issues, like a broken tooth or a lame foot, can see those things, they don't help you chew, they don't help you walk well or run. Is reliance on the unfaithful in time of trouble. So are you an unfaithful person? Can you be relied upon? All right. If you're a tooth, can I chew with you? You're supposed to be there, right? If you're a disciple, can I rely on you? You're supposed to be there, right? Okay, it's an unfaithful person in time of trouble. There are some people, if they tell you, wait, I'm coming, you better start going. But that is not true. They are unreliable. They are like a broken tooth, like a lame foot, like one who takes away a garment on a cold day. I want you to think about that. You take away somebody's garment or take away a garment on a cold day, or like vinegar, if you pour it on a wound, or like vinegar on wound. God compares that is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. Now, what does that mean? Let's also, somebody comes to you and they are going through stuff. Everyone says, no, the Lord is your strength. Oh, God, no. That's not going to help them. Hey, bro, like somebody said, this year, somebody lost someone. And somebody who's also grieving, told that person grieving, oh, the Lord gives and the Lord takes. I said, you said what? So someone who is grieving, in other words, you are telling the person, yeah, Job said that about himself, right? But look at what Job did afterwards. The anger that came to him. Let people grieve. All right, let people grieve. Don't take away that. Don't try to do something wrong. He said, like taking away a garment on a cold day. Like pouring vinegar on wound is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. That's not what they need. Sometimes what we need to do is to be like Job's friends. For the first few days, they were all quiet. That is what to do. When they began to talk, that's when Wahala began. They want to now figure out why he's suffering. You don't know what people are going through, they're going through. So now we need to learn even how to what's the word I'm looking for? We need to learn how to console people, how to whatever. Sometimes we use the wrong words. So if your enemy is hungry, Jesus Christ said that, right? So now let's go to what we do. If your enemy is hungry, what do? Give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink. Why? I don't know. Shouldn't I be hating my enemy? He said, in doing this, Jesus Christ also mentioned that, okay, in the gospel. In doing this, verse 22 says, you will pour burning coal on his head, and the Lord will reward you. That is how to treat an enemy. Love them. How to campaign? It convicts them. All right. So like a north wind. North wind that blows is dry, right? In the north, when wind comes to it, it's dry wind. So like a north wind that brings unexpected rain, because you're not supposed to have rain, is a sly tongue, which provokes a horrified look. People that will say things unexpectedly. There's a sly tongue. So to ask you today, do you have a sly tongue? The word sly is just like it sounds. Sly is crafty, is cunning, is almost clever in a bad way. So are you cunning? Okay, now remember those things that were said a few days ago when we read, it comes up again, and I don't know why. Better to live in the corner of a roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife. But ask yourself, are you quarrelsome as a person? Just quarrelsome. You just like to quarrel. It's not a very good thing. And it's like cold water. So let's reverse it. Like cold water to a weary soul is good news from a distant land. Like model spring, the spring that is model, that is polluted, like model spring or polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. You're supposed to be good, but you allow wickedness in your life, wickedness in your community, whatever. Like you're supposed to be righteous. Bible says you are like a modeled spring, you are like a polluted well. You are compromised. So it is not good to eat too much honey. That honey thing has come again. It's not really, it's sweet, but don't go to eat too much honey. Nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. As a teacher, I am very happy not to know too many things. There are things I don't know. There are things I'm okay if I don't know. There are things I will never know. So in other words, it's okay not to be okay. All right, it's okay. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. So it's all these things about, that's why I say it's like coming into that boardroom. This is where decisions are made. This is like a master class on leadership. There's a lot I would like to say some more, but look at it. It is the glory of king to conceal a matter. That's how it began. God embeds what I call complex principles. God embeds complex strategies, and and searching within the fabric of creation and history. That's where they are. Sometimes we need to just study. Let's be people who are deep. All right. So true leadership does not operate on what I say superficial assumption. A leader, you must be able to search things. A situation happen, go deeper, ask a question. Just so don't react hastily. The Bible says their glory lies in righteous research, deep analytical thinking. Think about Solomon. When that point go, oh, it's my son. What do we do? Okay, let us, cut that son in two. Solomon said, let's divide it in two. And the one who said, no, my Lord, please, I beg, give it to her. Solomon said, that is what. So let us know how to make decision. Okay, let us search out facts before making exclusive decision. Let us make sure we analyze everything. Sometimes our decisions are screwed. They climb to people we like, or we cover up a leader. We cover up somebody in our tribe. We cover up. That's what we do. But let us just be people whose yes is yes. And this is what they call court etiquette and emotional management. So the Bible ends, look at it, starts with that, and in verse 28, it ends with somebody without walls. Like somebody who lacks self-control, who lacks emotional management. I'm going to be teaching emotional intelligence in the School of Mission, in the Global School of Mission, in the next few weeks. But it's about knowing yourself, studying other people, then knowing how to navigate. Very, very important. Sometimes you might not be the best person to even be a judge in a case. Be honest about it. So, because in the ancient world, a city without walls is a defenseless against any passive invader. Sometimes our walls are broken down. We are vulnerable to destruction. Quickly, before we finally run out of time, number one I want to say is that a wise leader will use restraint and humility. Okay, a wise leader will restrain. You hold yourself back. Power is not when you are able to do what you are able to do. Sometimes power is latent, is hidden. Power is when you hold yourself back, even when you know you can break everybody's head. So let's think about aggressive self-promotion, impulsive reaction. Rather, what we need to do is discipline, restraint, and humility. If you look at verse 6 and 7 here, he said, do not put yourself forward in a king's presence, for it is better for you to say, come up here, than for you to be insulted. Through patience, a ruler can be persuaded. Humility, patience. So I want you to join me in affirming that I resolve today, the 26th day of July, I resolve to lead with deep humility and emotional restraint. Because I trust that my quiet, competence and self-control will open doors of sustainable influence. When I keep quiet, not because I don't have anything to say, because at that point I am relying on God. Because I know that if I say this thing, it will break everything. Will just scatter. But I'm relying on God. Like I told people, Joseph in the Bible. One of the things I like is one of the last statement that he made. Joseph said, "It is to save life that God has sent me ahead." People thought now that he's the prime minister is going to kill them. I say, you guys don't understand. What you did was evil, and it's going to be evil, right? But God has turned it to become good. Say, God is not the God of evil, but God can take the evil of men and use it to bless me. And that's why sometimes you allow God to put that burning coal on people. So ask yourself today, in your current leadership, or whatever you are doing, your job, your assignments, your family, are you relying on the force of your position, or are you exercising gentle restraint? Gentle to be able to sway minds, to be able to build long-term trust. Everything is all about authority, leadership. Blah. People can only follow you only as far as that leadership something. Beyond that, they can't follow you. People will follow you because maybe children will follow you because you are the father. Why we follow? Because you are the husband. Whatever. The day that thing goes, they will not follow you beyond that. So there's also the power of tightly spoken words. Solomon said, a word tightly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Your words carry amplified weight. The things that we say, a timely word of correction, a timely encouragement, a strategic direction that is spoken with emotional clarity is invaluable. Let us speak like people who care. Like you've heard me say, we normally judge people around us by what they do, but we want to be judged by our intention. Why don't you reverse it? Careless speech from leaders, they create chaos. Watch what you say. And I was preaching two Sundays ago, and in my preach, for some reason, when I want to say Cyprus, I will say Tarsus. Cyprus, I will say Tarsus. And it was my story. What happened to me in at the midweek service? Somebody I shared, Gilbert. I shared that thing with Gilbert. Gilbert was in that story too. It was like, Emmanuel, I think you meant Tarsus, Cyprus, whatever. And I went on YouTube and I typed there, please. Very, very important. When at this point in time, between this time and this time, whenever I said this, I mentioned Tarsus. I actually meant Cyprus. Please forgive me. I did that on a Sunday after posting that thing online. Then I came to midweek service and I said, guys, hey, I want to ask for forgiveness. There's this thing I said, it's all right. Somebody actually found it very, very funny. We're like, why is the man apologizing? I beg they go. I said, you don't understand. He said to them, they know it doesn't mean anything. God said he will judge me more. I'm a teacher, and you need to think the same thing too. If what you have said is wrong, Proverbs Chapter 6 or 7 is there. If you have struck hand in pledge with your neighbor, if you have committed yourself, what is wrong? You say, I am sorry. But you say, well, in a society where leaders are so, Emmanuel went to Cyprus, so because of that, Emmanuel cannot make mistake. So we need to understand that. So please affirm with me that today, the 26th day of July, I resolve to measure my words carefully, releasing timely, constructive, and inspiring communication across all my professional or my personal interaction. Carefully releasing. Ask yourself today, is your communication currently adding clarity? When you speak, people say, wow, now I understand. Is it adding clarity and value like that apple, of gold? Or are your words, creating unnecessary friction? Is it creating confusion among those who you lead? Is our tongue, is it caustic? The Bible says, season your words, whatever, with salt, not with pepper. You might have something, they say, someone that you call to come and help me blow. When something enter, come and help me blow this eye, and you are putting pepper in your mouth before you blow the eyes. What do you think is going to happen to the eyes? So we need to all fortify the walls of our mind. I would say, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Let's fortify everything that that we do. Affirm with me that I resolve to maintain strict governance. I'm going to maintain strict governance over my emotion, guarding my spirit so that my leadership remains steady, unshakable, and secure. Very, very important. The call to action for all of us today is to lead with wisdom today. In your leadership today, Sunday, first day of the week, I want you to step into your leadership space today, all of us, whether at home, whether in your constituency, whether in your neighborhood, whether within your community, step in with intentional composure. Be intentional. Identify one area where you usually, react with haste, with impatience, or micromanaging. We had a marriage workshop yesterday. I was like the second person to get there, and the place was dirty. But well, not to brag, I single-handedly cleaned up. People will come in and go out. Come here, swept the whole place, clean the whole place, arrange the chairs, turn on the fan, every single thing, and that brothers are coming in. And I had to call one of them. One of them, I said, hey, why did you? Some of people saw me doing it. And we are sorry, whatever. I said, that shouldn't be who we are. There was a disciple who I've never seen this person's kind of attitude before. A week ago. It was very rude, really. And I pray, I say, how will I reach this person? So days later, and I had to go to a person's house. Sat down with that person and say, man, bro, I've never seen you like this, but what happened? And the guy told me, wait. By the time we finish, the guy said, bro, thank you so much for what. And I'll be able to talk to him gently. And I explain situations to him. This is actually how it was like. I say, from now on, my hands are off. I'm not going to be emotional about this. So I say, it's okay. And we ate together and we're happy. So intentionally choose restraint. Listen twice as much as you speak. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Respond with gentleness to even challenge situation. Delegate with trust, or then you praise your team members with with good word, with nice words. I'm going to stop here. I'm really excited about. These things speak to me, and I'm sure they're spoken to one of us today. But what do you think? Is there anything that God is saying? What will your response be? I want to hear from some of you before we go to God in prayer. Thank you very much for listening.